Hi, everybody. My name is Darko Peric. I'm an actor. Probably most of you knows me as Helsinki from Money Heist. And today I'm here with my friend. Probably I don't need to present him. Everybody knows him. He's a basketball legend, Tony Parker. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Darko. It's weird. Hey, Darko is weird when you say money heist. It's Casa de Papel. Casa
Yeah,
de
it's Casa de
Papel.
Papel. Yeah, of course, it's Casa de Papel, but you're the one who are in US, and in US they call that money heist, yes?
I know, yeah, they call it money heist. Yep. Yeah.
It's really weird. Wait a second. We are going in live, so I have a technical problem. It's solved.
It's
So
okay. That's the best because like that they know it's for real. It's live.
yeah, c'est la vie. How are
So
you,
that
Tony?
I'm doing great. I'm in San Antonio now. I've been here for 7 weeks now since the confinement, and just staying positive. Obviously, the days are very repetitive, but on the other side, it's great to spend a lot of time, with the family and just look at life. Put everything in perspective. And I can't wait, to get back to a normal life and go after it.
Everywhere is the same, man. Everywhere is the same, and people like us that we are used to travel and work abroad a lot, and we don't spend so much time with the family. Somehow, for me, this was like bless.
Sure, for sure. I travel every month. Like every month, I'm in Europe. And when I was playing in NBA, every 2 days, you travel, and you same thing as an actor. You always have a schedule, and you're moving
Yeah.
around. So for sure, the family is very happy right now.
Yeah, my son is like, yeah, it's, for example, when I was shooting Casa de Papel, I live in Barcelona, and I
Uh-huh.
was traveling Madrid every week. I was coming to Barcelona back every weekend on Friday, and sometimes go back on Monday night, no,
Mm.
or no Monday night, Sunday night or Monday morning, in the best case,
Stuff, yeah.
for
Mhm.
9 months, and but
So I'm sure he's happy, and he can spend some quality time with daddy now. So that's good.
yeah, definitely. And the other day I was talking with Gigi Datome
Uh-huh.
as a player, and
I
he's
remember you
still
told me.
playing. He's
Yeah.
still playing, and he said, "Wow, man, it's so good to wake up without pain."
I know. Hey, that's so funny that you say that because that's my favorite thing of retirement. Just waking up and feeling my body, nothing. That's the best.
you know, uh, uh, just to say, like, to the audience, that I'm a huge basketball fan, but I'm not sport journalist, so I'm not going to talk to Tony Parker, ex basketball player. I'm going to talk to Tony Parker as a friend, and also that I'm an actor. So Tony Parker have that facet, of an actor, of film producer. So I would like to talk more about culture, more about music, movies, and of course we're gonna talk a little bit about basketball, because I
Yeah,
mean
no
I love
problem. No
basketball.
problem.
It's
Pleasure.
it's a part of my life. So yeah, man, I would like to start like with your. I would like you to tell me a little bit, what would you like to be if not a basketball player? That's the question.
I was not a basketball player growing up. I
Yeah.
wanted to be an architect. I love like building stuff, and I think right now that I made it in the NBA, I'm in a position that I can invest and build stuff, and that's why I bought the two teams in France. I want to give back to my country, build the academy, and I just want to keep building stuff. And I think it comes from when I was young. I just wanted to always create, and I think if I was not a basketball player, I definitely wanted to be an architect.
Wow, amazing, man. Amazing. Because with me, it was completely different. I always wanted to be an actor,
Uh-huh.
but when I was young, I could not do that, because I was studying medicine. I was studying to
Oh,
become a
wow.
vet, and I
Nice.
finished university. Like I'm a veterinary, you know. I have a title, I have diploma and everything.
So funny. I didn't know that about you. That's crazy.
Yeah, not many people knows that about me, and that's like, actually I was working as a vet just like few months, because I always wanted to be an actor, but where I'm coming from, like Serbia,
Yeah.
Eastern Europe is not really easy, like being an artist, being an actor, so my parents, they wanted the best for me.
Was it hard for you, growing up, in Serbia and actually the ex-Yugoslavia, back in the time? Uh, because for me, everybody thought I was crazy when I say I want to play in the NBA. So when you were growing up and you say I want to be an actor, I'm sure people look at you like, whatever, he's crazy, this guy.
That was like this. I'm all now when I'm talking with my family, you know, because now I'm like in Serbia, I'm the most famous Serbian actor in the world, you know. They call me like that, you know. And my parents are just like, okay, okay. I mean, I'm from the small kid. I was like, you know, I want to be actor. So like, you're crazy, you know. And now I understand them because I'm a father, and you want the best for your kid, you know.
Of
And
course.
their vision was, okay, we want our son to be a doctor, you know.
Yeah.
So
To be realistic and do something like a job. Are you still amazed about the how big it is, you know, Casa de Papel, and is it like huge, you know, in Serbia?
man, it's every day I got more and more surprised. You know, it's we few days ago there was like exactly 3 years since
Mhm.
we
Started.
had the premiere. Had the premiere here. You know, we
The premiere.
started shooting like 4 years ago. You know,
Okay. Okay.
and now it's like 2 years and a half that since it's on Netflix. You know, and
Mhm.
it's going day by day. You know, first of course now like people knows me in US, you know, people knows me in Argentina, people knows me in
Yeah, it's
Thailand.
global now. Yeah.
With the new season now is amazing because after the fourth season, just yesterday I got like my father, he lives in Montenegro, you know,
Mhm.
on the Adriatic Sea. I know that you know about
No,
Yugoslavia and
Montenegro.
that.
I love Montenegro. It's a great spot over there. They got a spot where you can go with boats that's super nice. I think it's called Buva, something like
Yeah,
that.
Budva, the
Budva.
city.
There you go, Budva.
The city.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And there's
Yeah.
a lots of Russians there, you know. So my father neighbors, when they saw me on Skype talking with my father, the girl, she could not believe what, you know, like this guy is super famous in Russia, and I didn't know that Russia is like also huge. And now India, man, they're crazy. I getting messages every day from India, so it's
The documentary that you know they made after season 4, you know, you can
yeah, the
watch on
phenomenon.
and how it started, and they almost canceled the show. I didn't even know that when I saw that they almost canceled the show. And when you see how big it became, it's hard, you know, for an actor to know which ones was gonna, you know, which one's gonna be big. When you first read the script of Casa de Papel, what did you think?
Man, it's like I have to be honest, you know, the first time.
It was terrible. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, the first time, actually, you know, this is the funny thing about Casa de Papel and about all the characters because first script, I was there, but I had no words, you know, and I said, okay, you know, because
It was no Helsinki at first when you first
no,
read
no,
it.
there was a Helsinki inside you
Okay.
in all
Okay.
scenes, but
Okay.
you don't open the mouth. And I was just coming from the Spanish series when I had a big role for me then. You know,
Mhm.
I was playing like a Russian mafia guy, like the
Mhm.
boss,
Yeah,
and
the
I
one.
had the like big blah blah, and there was a. And
Mhm.
after I said, okay, so we start shooting and everything. You grow little bit, and then there was a premiere on the national TV, and then you know it was like this and so fast
And then,
down
yeah,
down
yeah,
down down down. So we finished shooting. I was like, okay,
yeah.
new
Over.
show.
On to the next
That's life.
project.
And then man, December 2017, I think, boom, on Netflix. And then I woke up one morning, I had like maybe 10,000 followers on Instagram. That's in that time was normal, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know. And then 20, you know, and in like day after 30, 10,000 per day, you know, and I had, you know, that's the only feedback that you can get, like social networks, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
So it was like, what,
Ah,
what's
it's
this?
amazing. It's amazing, and obviously, you know, I'm a huge fan of your show, and I watched season 4, and it was so good, and I'm excited for the next season. And I remember you told me when we talked on the phone that you were supposed to shoot right now, and, you know, and now everything's gonna be delayed. So you broke my heart. I'm like, oh, it's gonna take forever now to see
Yeah,
Casa.
not only yours, man, not only yours. There's like a million of people like, well, when you're gonna shoot, you have it ready already. And I said, no, we don't have it, you know. Like, but
Uh,
yes, man, you never know. That's interesting of life, you know, that
it's
you never know
the
for sure.
beauty when you read the scripts, because like you said, I'm a movie producer, so I read scripts all the time, and so I remember reading a script, and it was a movie, and you're gonna see if you're gonna find that movie. I read the movie, and it's an actor, famous actor, and I read, and I'm like, okay, he's in the forest, he's fighting with a bear, and I'm reading the script, and I'm like, I don't know about that one, you know. And it was for a lot of movie investment. Sure enough, Leonardo DiCaprio takes the movie and win
Yeah,
an Oscar with that movie. When I read the script, I was like, "What's?" It was a $3 million investment, and I just started, investing in movies, and so I got a little bit scared.
That was funny, man. I didn't mention the name and the Iñárritu, the director, and but
Yeah,
that's amazing story, man.
yeah,
That's
amazing story. But now I use that story a lot. That now I'm like, okay, I really need to read good the script because you never know.
happened to me. I refused the role 10 years ago in the movie here, and the movie won Goya, Spanish Oscar. It was really famous movie, Give Life to the.
Yeah, 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 I know which movie. Oh,
And I said no, because I went to visit my parents, and my agent, she was like going crazy, but it was not my time. Maybe for you it's gonna come time, if you believe, and if you the creators of Casa de Papel, they're working for years, for years, and they was refused, and all and then they made Casa de Papel, and also went down, and now, man, they're
yeah,
like kings.
uh,
So
for
you
sure.
have to you have to keep. I think it's like in the sport, man, perseverance. You have to keep
Yeah, exactly. It's
believe. If
exactly
you
that.
believe that, like I love that story about this guy from KFC. The guy who made KFC. You know that story.
The creator? No, what was the
The
story?
creator, he made a recipe, like the chicken wings of KFC.
Yeah,
He made a
yeah.
recipe, and he didn't want to sell the recipe. He wanted to find somebody that he gonna get the percent of sellings. So he
Mm.
tried, like, I don't know, hundreds, all of them refusing. And then in the end, the one said, okay, I wanted that. And the rest is the legend.
Yeah, the rest is history.
People ask me, like, I always said that there's people always now in interviews, like, how much of Helsinki, of Darko, is in Helsinki. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm,
obviously, this face, this
mhm,
manners and all of that. Of course, I create a character like all actors, but
mhm,
then it's like when you read a script, it's, for me, it's the same, man, because I read a script of Casa de Papel, but there's like 3 series in one.
yeah,
There's guys in the bank, there's a police, and there's a professor and
mhm.
outside. So there's three different. So when you read, okay, but then after, for me, it's also when I see on Netflix, it's different.
Still a surprise for you, yeah, because then you see everything comes together. Yeah, no, for sure, for
It's
sure, for
crazy,
sure.
man, and it's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I'm,
so
I'm,
you
I'm
had the
happy for
script.
you, man. I'm happy for you, and can't wait for the next one. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, man. I'm now, everything is blocked. Like all over. Like in NBA, it's the same. Like I'm talking with the people they are playing around the basketball, and as well, sports are like
Sports is
going
hard
on.
right now. We getting hit big time, obviously, like everywhere in the world. And in Europe, we can't do nothing. I'm on meetings all the time, with the boards, different presidents, EuroLeague, and then in the NBA, same thing. So it's hard to find a happy middle, when we can start, because especially the EuroLeague is every country, and every
I know,
country
I
is
know.
different rules and the borders and stuff like that. So it's going to be hard. We're going to have to be patient.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we have, man. Because yeah, as you said, the friend of mine told me the other day, is like, this is going like the waves, the waves. This first wave was like Spain and Italy, then France and England and US, and the whole world is gonna pass through this. But that's not depend on us. There's the things that happened. It's like,
You have to try to do different stuff during the confinement, and so I know that you speak a lot of languages, and so I'm tired of not speaking Spanish fluent, because I speak French and English fluently. But Spanish, I've been here 20 years in San Antonio, and I'm like, don't speak fluently. So I used the confinement. I was like, okay, no more excuse. I'm retired. I have time now. So now I'm going to talk just a little bit with you in Spanish, and we can talk a little bit
perfecto.
on basketball. So, uh, es muy difícil de hablar una otra idioma, pero es posible porque yo hablo francés y inglés. Francés es muy similar de español, porque 2000 palabras es similar, y en inglés 2000 palabras es similar, pero
Acento.
el acento es diferente. Por ejemplo, attention en English, attention en français, atención en
Sí, sí,
Spanish,
sí.
pero otra palabra es muy diferente. Por ejemplo, casa, maison en francés y house en inglés. So, así que mi vocabulario necesito ser mejor. Yeah, to be
Wow.
better.
Esto ha sido muy bien y yo creo que esto para la gente que va a ver esto en España y en Latinoamérica va a ser una gran sorpresa.
Sí,
Y
sí, sí.
I also know that you,
Ma motivación es muy grande porque
siempre,
tengo muchos amigos habla español. Así que para mí, todos los días estudio español para 30 minutos con un profesor. Se llama, es una aplicación, se llama Pimsleur, the Pimsleur approach.
wow.
Es muy bien.
Perfecto. I know you're friend with Pau Gasol, so maybe with him as well, ¿no?
Sí, Pau Gasol es un amigo y también Manu Ginóbili.
Claro, Ginóbili es argentino, claro, claro.
Sí.
Pero argentinos hablan mucho más rápido.
Muy rápido, demasiado rápido.
Demasiado rápido. You know I understand French. I was learning 8 years in school French.
Okay.
Serbia, but that's like didn't really help me, you know.
Serbia, I only know Kakosi. Kakosi!
Sí, sí, sí. I'm for sure you know some bad words from the other players,
Yeah, but I'm
Serbian
not going to say
players.
the bad words. Only Kakosi.
Yeah, I know that.
But
Because
I know all the bad words.
yeah, I know because any basketball player I meet from you're from Serbia, they all start like, oh, okay. I say, yeah, I know. You played against Serbian players for sure. So, but for me, this is the same. You know, like I can understand like Canadians speaking French, or I can understand foreigners speaking French. But then I go like Paris or Marseille or Toulouse, and
It's too fast. Yeah, it's too fast.
you know,
Like for
it's
me, when I speak Spanish with you, I understand better. When I try to listen to Casa de Papel in Spanish, it's still going too fast. Like
yeah.
en cabeza, es muy despacio.
No, but
No,
you know,
necesito despacio.
for me, I speak 4 languages every day. You know, I speak with my
So
wife.
four every day.
I was studying in Romania, and
Okay.
I live in Romania for 9 years.
Oh wow.
So I
Okay.
speak Romanian.
Okay.
I speak Serbian. Of course,
Okay.
it's my
Number
native
one
language.
language, main language.
I
Yeah.
speak Spanish, and I
Mhm.
try English. You know, you see the level of my of my English. You know? and then
Uh,
and there's a three others that's like Italian, French, and Catalan that I can understand. I just
yeah.
need to change the chip. If I go to France and I
Exactly.
stay 1 month, you know.
Yeah. No,
So
I totally understand because then it comes back fast. Because to maintain a language, you have to speak it 3 hours a week to
yeah,
make
definitely.
and the muscle and everything. So that's why for me, now that I'm learning Spanish, I'm going to force myself to watch more TV shows in Spanish. And you have
Yes.
great TV shows in Spanish anyway. So like that,
Yeah.
I can maintain it and then I can talk with my friends. So after this interview, when we call each other, Darko, solo español.
Perfecto.
Solo español ahora.
Para mí perfecto también. Para mí yo no tengo ningún problema, tú ya sabes. Tú has, claro. Okay, let's switch to English for the audience. And anyway, I don't know if they're gonna put some Spanish subtitles because there's lots of Spanish public
Okay.
like.
Okay. They can do the subtitles. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember your appearance on the film screen in Asterix and Obelix, man.
We're going way back. My first attempt of being an actor. Yeah, that was a great experience. I remember when they first asked me, I was like, oh wow, I never did that before. I did like commercials and stuff like that, but that's nothing. It's not the same, when you do a movie and then you have the whole thing. And it was a big movie, big production. It was in Spain. We shot in Alicante, And I remember when they call me, it's like Asterix. I'm like, oh, like the thing when I was a kid when I was watching all the time. And it's like, yeah, it's Asterix in the Olympics. And I was like, oh, I had to accept, you know. So they asked me and Zidane, you know, a famous soccer
Yeah,
player,
I know, man. I know. I remember.
to do a scene together, and it was a great experience because I never did that before. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember there was a like, what's the name of the actor of the small guy? He's amazing.
Ah, Jamel, yeah, Jamel.
Jamel is
Jamel is
amazing. Yeah,
super,
he's from,
super famous in France.
of
Great
course,
comedian.
man. He was in like
And
in
so
Amélie Poulain.
exactly, he's the one who like made me comfortable. You know what I mean? Because he took me on this wing, showed me everything. So it was nice of him to do that.
You know, he said like, hey, look there, Michael Jordanus.
Yeah,
It's like a Roman. It
exactly.
was cool.
We all have those crazy Roman names.
So was quite an experience, no? Because I remember I met in Serbia. They made a TV show about basketball, you know, series, like I don't know how many seasons. I mean, in Serbia they also made like, I mean, the basketball in Serbia, you know, it's like more than a game, you know. And I
Yep.
met and they made a cameo a lot of basketball players, you know. And I met Nedovic. I don't know if you know the player. He plays in Milano now, Olimpia Milano, young
Ah,
guy
right now, young guy. Oh
right
yeah,
now.
yeah, of course, I know who it is. Yeah, yeah, of course.
So I met him. I met him like a few months ago. They played again against Barcelona here in Barcelona. He was talking, and then I said, I told him, I just saw you in the show, man. They had a scene. They was eating like something. I said, wow, man. I it's like I was thinking it's once and it's over, you know. So they have to eat. They said, man, we had to repeat 10 times, you know. And I was eating all the time. So for me, that's funny, you know. Like when the people go out, people out from the industry come in and they think it's okay once and that's it. How many times you met that scene? It was
Oh,
one day,
actually, the scene now it was no 3 days. It was 3 days. I
three
went for
days.
yeah,
Wow.
3 days. Because it was a day they prep us, explain everything, and then one day we shoot, and you stay another day just in case. You know what I mean? So it was just 3 days, but it was easy though, easy. It was not too long.
So after that, did you want to try it again or?
Yeah, I was always like, if other stuff come, you know, I will do it. Like so, last 3 months, I did something in a famous TV show in France. It's called 10%. It's a show about agents, you know, taking care of their actors and stuff like that. So I did an appearance on that, and that was a great experience. And so me, I'm always open. I never really pursue it, you know. Because I was playing basketball and it took all my time. But now that I'm like producer and I see more scripts, you know, I'm like, you can never say no. We'll see.
Yeah, man, that's the best for you sports guys. You retire so young, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I'm
almost we
older
can
than you, and
do
I'm
a second
starting.
life. We can do a second life for sure.
Yeah, man, that's when I'm talking with the people. I have a nephew in Serbia. You met him in Paris, you know, and I
Oh, that's
always
right. Yeah, yeah, your nephew. Yeah, 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 of
and
course.
now he's completely crazy. He's training every day, like 2 times per day,
He was
running.
motivated. Yeah, when I talked to him,
He
yeah.
understood, man. He understood that. And I always tell him, look, man, look at them, you know, they're retired. Now they can do something else, you know, like they enjoyed. And me, of course, I enjoyed. I don't regret. But, you know, for me, it's like I'm starting now to something. I do what I like. That's the most important for me. I'm
But I
finally,
see you starting something else now. I saw the music. I saw the song. It's coming out.
yeah. Okay. That's also like, you know, I like to experiment. So I said when I came to Barcelona after I left Serbia, I lived in Berlin, and I
Hmm.
came here like I had 27, and I saw this city and I saw the possibilities that I can do here. I said, okay, from this moment, I'm gonna do only what I want in my life. You know, I don't want to do like
Yeah, but
things.
you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's
You
like,
earned it. You earned it.
of
You're right.
course you have to make sometimes compromise, but you know,
Mhm.
always when I said this, because you know, when I was a kid, I really love basketball, you know, but I have to admit, I was a lazy guy, you know. I didn't want to go to train every day. I didn't like, you know, I prefer like easy to find the shortcuts, you know. And in
Mhm.
sport there's no shortcuts, you know.
Shortcut, yeah. Mhm.
So when I start like this thing with the basketball, you know, because I was working like I made a show with EuroLeague here, like interviewing the basketball players, and
Mhm.
my sister, she was laughing because my sister, she was professional sports. She was doing karate. She was training karate, and
Oh, wow.
he knows me when I was a kid, and said like, "Come on, Darko, you and sports, forget it." So in February, I had my first game as a pro in basketball. Like it was a charity game in Italy.
So when was the game? When was the game?
There was Treviso, the basket Treviso. They play against all-star team Italian. There was a charity game. And I was
That was your first time playing like a real game, like you put
like a real game, like that, like a real game. So I said, it's never too late. I'm 43 and I'm playing. So
you know what you should do next is play in the NBA celebrity all-star game. You should do that.
Yeah, this was not celebrity. This was the retired players,
The retired.
And the retired players, man. And there was like, okay, there was some, there was Odi Norris, the legendary Odi Norris. There was Tyus Edin. There was Joe Fresa. Yeah, there was players, and they are all probably like you, no, I don't play anymore. It's just like fun when they put the.
Of course, you put the jersey, then it becomes competitive like this.
Competitive as hell, man. I said, okay, go.
But you had fun though. You had fun. It was a good experience.
Yeah, of course, there was amazing experience. There was actually crazy, because that was the day when the Corona thing starts in Italy. There was yeah, man. So I said, man, I hope it's not my fault. I start to play professional basketball and everything goes. So I stopped. I'm not gonna play anymore.
Oh wow, okay. So what
No.
was the first player or the first team you saw play that make you say like, I really love this game?
I mean, I remember in 80s. I remember 80 because when NBA starts that was end of the 80s. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, the only jersey I have here is Larry Bird, Celtics 33, that's the only jersey. I mean, so I think, and of course, we had like Yugoslav team in those years, like especially Red Star, beginning of 80s and then end of 80s was Partizan, Jugoplastica. There was a great team. So I grew up really like influenced by great basketball. And now it's crazy, man, because since 2 months there's no games on the there's nothing, and they are putting old games
man.
Man.
The legends again.
Just like for me it's like wow, going back in the history, in the past. And yeah, but basically it's Magic
Petrovic play live.
I never saw him playing live.
No, not live. Okay. Good.
No. I never saw Dražen Petrovic. Of course, I saw them. Actually, I didn't saw many games live in Yugoslavia because I was living in a small city.
Okay.
All the games was in Belgrade or in bigger cities, And after that, I moved to Romania. And when I moved to Romania, 95, in Romania there was no basketball as a culture. Now there's a basketball teams. They have a league. But then back then there was no internet. That's what kids today don't understand. You remember in 90s, you want to see the game or you have a video cassette, or you cannot see the game.
So as of right now, what you want to do then? Are you happy with Europe, or you want to try to, with your career, try to go in the US, or are you open? Depends on the scripts, because you speak 4 languages, so you can choose.
For me, I always like to do to compare like basketball players and actors. If you play basketball in Europe, you always want to go. I mean, not everybody, because I know players.
But 99%.
99% they want to go to US to NBA. So for actors, it's the same. Of course, like I grew up with American movies, man. I grew up with American TV shows. So for me, that was dream, but now the dream is kind of possible, because the show is getting bigger in US, I already made few castings. So of course I want to try in US.
We are confined right now. What's a good TV show that you, beside Casa de Papel, what that you watched recently that you will suggest for our audience?
There's a great TV show, and I know that you like hip hop, because I know that you also made like some hip hop. You also do music. I know that. Amazing show for me, because I love hip hop. We can talk about hip hop. And actually, when we met in Paris, there was a DJ Cat Killer.
Yeah,
amazing
exactly.
DJ,
Exactly.
for the people they know like about hip hop music. He's a legendary
Mhm.
French DJ. The Get Down is the name of the show. Did you saw that?
I heard about it. I didn't see it yet. No, I didn't.
Man,
I heard
um,
about that one. That's what is good. You're reminding me. Yeah, I have to. I need to watch
the
that. Yeah.
Get Down, it's about the beginnings of hip hop, New
Hmm.
York 70s, Grandmaster Flash, Africa Babata, DJ Cool Herc.
Hmm.
It's
Great.
delicatesse,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I'll
the
take a
show.
look. I'll take a look tonight. You're right. I have to
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely, definitely. It's 10 episodes, so it's not like
Yeah.
huge. I mean, I
Yeah.
would like to be like more 50
Yeah.
episodes because it's amazing, really. And music is great. It's all these like soul and funk from 70s
Hmm.
mixed with good, really good hip hop.
Hmm.
And then the other show is, of course, man, that everybody around the world is watching now is like The Last Dance. The Last Dance,
Oh, The Last Dance.
man.
Oh, no.
The Last
The
Dance
Last
is
Dance, man, it's so good. It brings me back when I was a young kid. I'm so nostalgic, watching that beautiful documentary. And even if Michael and his whole career, they have some great footage. I'm like, man, who was shooting that back in the day? Like, who has that camera
amazing.
right
It's
now?
really amazing how
Really
it's
good.
done, how they made the documentary. It's amazing
Yeah,
because it's so emotional, man. Everybody's talking about that,
everybody.
everywhere around the world, and
Mm.
it's just like, wow, man, this is. And tell me, Tony, where you was a kid, did you go to Chicago and you saw the games in
Yeah,
Bulls?
yeah. When I was 14 years old, I met Michael for the first time, and I took a picture with him. After the game. My dad is from Chicago, and we grew up huge, huge Bulls fans, and brought us to a game and took a picture with Mike after the game. But the first time that I saw him, it was during the Dream Team. 1992. The Dream Team came to Monaco for friendly games before going to Barcelona for the Olympics. And I went to that game in Monaco, and I was a kid, and I was running everywhere, just to see them, And
Man,
so the last two episodes, they talked about the Dream Team, and I remember I was there.
wow, man, amazing. Lucky you, man. That's huge input, no? There was like motivational input, like meeting those guys.
For sure, the Dream Team had a huge impact, and you see it, with me, Pau Gasol, Dirk Nowitzki, we Manu Ginobili, we all watched the Olympics, and it made us want to then play in the NBA.
Man, you mentioned those two guys, Dirk Nowitzki and Pau Gasol. I just watched yesterday, 2001 from Turkey, Spain, Germany. Dirk Nowitzki, 43 points.
The European.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to watch the games. A lot of people they're texting me too. Hey, we saw the finals against Miami. We saw the finals against Spain. Like, it's funny. Everybody is like watching sports because we can't watch anything like new. So it's pretty
And
cool.
the people they don't, especially like people they're not really into sports. It's like, come on, man, you already know the score. You know how you can be so like, wow, man. It's not about the score for me. It's not about the score for me. It's about plays and this and the difference. The other day they put here on TV when Michael Jordan came first time here, that I think was in 90 or 91. He
Hmm.
made an exhibition game for Spanish league, you
Hmm.
know he
Hmm.
played the 20 minutes with one team and then changed the jersey and play with the other.
He did that in Spain
It was in Spain, man.
because
Amazing.
he did the same thing in France before that. He was like so big.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was 90. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, no.
I didn't know that he went to Spain to do that.
Yeah, and the game was amazing because in the beginning it was like that, but then after, I don't know, he made 35 points or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
I
that's
mean,
that's nice.
Michael is just visionary, This is the real, that's what I like with the people like from sport. Not everybody, of course, but there's the guys like you as well, like Kobe. The Kobe was as well like that. You're not just like sport focused. You're like open.
Mm.
And I like open mind people.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
So
I'm very open minded. You know me, so I'm very open minded. Did you
yeah,
have a inspiration like growing up when you knew you wanted to be an actor and you were like, he's like an inspiration or maybe his couple actors?
for me, what I like most, I mean, as an act for the actors, I like the actors. Like for example, man, the biggest from all time for me is Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando for me is just like,
One, yeah.
and more Marlon Brando after The Godfather. That like Godfather, and when he's getting older, you know, he start to be slower and, you know, not so energetic like when he was young, you know. And for example, like Gerard Depardieu, man, I love this guy, you know,
Ah,
because he's like type of actor, you know, like I like that kind of. For example, Bud Spencer as well, you know. I like comedy. You know, people knows me like here in Spain. I was playing like tough guy, like criminal, gangster. But actually, what I love it's comedy. For me,
but that's
that's
what's going to be my next question. You know, after Casa, like is something you would like to do comedy? I was just going to ask you that.
yeah, man. For me, for example, it's not like a role model or something like that. But for example, what Arnold Schwarzenegger
Mhm.
done for me, I admire that, you know, because the
Yeah, the
guy,
way he started his career and then completely
how he started the career, you know, and then ending up being a governor, you know, of California, is just like I cannot believe. But the
he had
talking
three lives.
three lives, man. Yeah, yeah, of course. As a movie, as a bodybuilder, movie star, and a
Exactly,
politician. But as a
exactly.
movie star, you remember how he starts, man. It was a
Yeah,
movie called Conan, you know,
yeah,
Conan, the
yeah.
first one. He
Mhm,
had almost no dialogues. And
mhm.
then the huge blockbuster Terminator, and he have like hasta la vista baby and I'll be back, you know. It's amazing, man. It's like, wow, man, how you do that, you know. Because once I met an actor, old actor, theater actor, you know, like they like lots of monologues, and he told me, uh, listen, I'm gonna give you life advice, you know. If you
Mhm,
see an actor and you have a meters of monologue
mhm,
and
mhm.
you have only like that and you're paying the same amount of money, consider you're lucky, you know. So it's like you don't have to.
Yeah, that was wise.
No, but anyway, it's those guys like Bud Spencer, man, for me as well, you know. We grow up with that, you know. There was
Mhm.
just like
Mhm.
so
So if you had to celebrate, like my birthday is coming on May 17th is my birthday,
wow.
and you had to celebrate, what's your drink? Like, are you more a wine drinker? You more vodka, tequila, because I'm close to Mexico. So what's your drink if you had to celebrate something? So the confinement is almost over. What's your first drink?
When I was young, I would say for sure like vodka, you know, because you know, where I'm coming from. And then I came here to Spain, and there was tequila was a big part of my life. But then 4 years and a half, I stopped drinking. You know, I just said
Just
it's
stop,
okay.
stop completely.
I stopped completely drinking. You know, and then I became a father. You know, lots of things. Then Casa Papel came, and I said, "Wow, what's happening?" So you know, but now I like. With a lunch, I like some good French wine or Spanish wine, you know, or red wine for me. That's so for your
And
birthday.
some good wine. France and Spain, they're very, very good at wine. Very, very good.
And California too. I know
Yeah,
the
California, they're starting, but they're not as old as France and Spain, so they still are brand new. So it's going to be hard to compete, obviously, because they don't have the same history, the clay and the dirt, everything is not the same. But they're doing a good job though.
So, what is your favorite drink then? So, I see you.
For me to celebrate, yeah, wine for sure. A good red wine. And if I had to choose two countries, I will definitely choose France and Spain. Pao, he knows his wine really good. So we always had some great dinners and great conversation with wine. And then when I was in France, I love Bordeaux. And I've been to the vineyards, went over there, met the people, and I went to the roads, where you do like, 5, 6 castle in a row. And it's an unbelievable experience, and I would advise anybody to try to do it because it's very interesting. Those people are very passionate over there, the way they do it, and they always tell you come in September and October, when they choose the grapes and they make the wine. So I can't wait to do that now that I'm retired. I want to try to do that one
Man,
time.
of course. That's.
The
I have a
harvesting and
friend.
all that
I
kind
have
of
a
stuff.
friend. I have a friend. Is an actor, and he's doing that kind of vine tourism here in Spain.
Mhm.
And that's interesting because, of course, in you go in France and you go near Lyon as well. That area they have. And I've been now when I've been in Treviso. We
Mhm.
went. They have a prosecco, you know. So we
Mhm.
went to the winery,
Mhm.
old winery there near between Venice and Treviso,
Mhm.
and yeah, man, that's whole world. This whole world of what I would like to do is like to do a I don't know, like small course of trying wines, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
now that I don't drink so much, you know.
I know. I was like, now that you don't drink,
Yeah, for that, you know, because before was
but
okay.
then you know when they try wine, they spit it, huh? So at
Yeah,
least
yeah,
you
of course,
do
because of
that.
that, because of that, you know, like few years ago, I bought like some vineyards in Transylvania. My wife is from there, from
Okay.
Romania. In Romania, they have a great wine. People
Really,
in Europe,
I never
people
tried
in
wine.
Europe, they know that. They don't know that because from area where I'm from, by the Danube, there's
Mhm.
this. You said clay and all of that, you know, and that
Mhm.
area, Romans was there, you know, and there's like like for example, Moldavia. Also,
Yeah.
they have a great wines there, and there's a interesting story when phylloxera, you know, that big disease 100 years ago, uh, attack all the grapes in Spain and
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Of course, yeah, yes. Sorry, yes, yes. Of
they
course.
brought they brought from Romania and Serbia, and they repopulated some parts with that. So that's very interesting
Yeah,
area.
interesting. Okay, so I need to
Yeah,
try some bottles from over there then. Okay.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So we are talking about wine. So let's talk a little bit of gastronomy. I mean, you're from France, you know, that's one of my favorites,
Food,
European.
food is tough for me because I love food, and there was always a big fight with myself when during my career because I love to eat so much.
Yeah,
Because in France, the way they do stuff, obviously you grew up with it. You can go to a small little restaurant and it's like amazing, so they take it very seriously in France. It's like a religion, and
yeah, man.
all the chefs, they compete, they do their things, between Lyon and Paris, two big cities for gastronomy. And Lyon, we had Paul Bocuse, the Michael Jordan of chefs, sadly, he left us a couple years ago. But I had the opportunity, to meet him and taught me some stuff, went to the kitchen, showed me a lot of different stuff. And so now I love to eat. That's one of my favorite things in life, is we got some great food.
It's,
And obviously in Spain, man, in Spain, they have some of the best restaurants in the world.
yeah, man. For me, Mediterranean cuisine is top. Italy, Spain, but as well, always when I go to France, I eat so good, man, there. The only thing is that I don't eat meat. I eat fish and I eat seafood. But when I go to France, all the like pastisserie and all of that, this is like, oh my God. It's just,
Know how to do the desserts in France, that's for sure. That's for sure.
and
But
cheese.
I feel like in the US they're getting better, because I arrived at the Spurs in 2001, and at the beginning you couldn't find much, and there was not a lot of French chef or Spanish chef, and now 20 years later, they're everywhere and they're improving and they're learning, and I feel like in the US you can eat pretty good now.
And cheese, man. French cheese.
Cheese. When I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, to make some extra money, I will go in the market and sell the cheese.
Wow, that's good.
So I know my cheese very well because I did that when I was a kid, and that was like my summer job.
Man, all those for me, it's like just because in Serbia we have that kind of cheese that they have like fresh cheese, you know. And I
Mhm.
remember when I was a kid learning French in school, and our teacher she showed us the photos. That was back in the 80s, man, and all the Roquefort, Camembert. And I was like, oh, what is this like? And could not imagine like how that smells, you know.
That smell.
And then when I moved to Berlin first time, you know, and I tried camembert, and I was like, "What's this, man? You know, like how you eat this, you know?" And now I'm like, cheese as well is like,
Yeah, the same thing in France. Cheese, they take it very seriously. If you go to a farm and the way they make it and stuff like that, that's another experience. It's pretty fun.
no. What I like about France, they take it seriously many things. You know, for
Yeah.
example, I've been in NBA game in January. It was
Mhm.
amazing, man. Organized the show, and I think in France that I mean the film industry is the biggest one in Europe. The French film industry, they're producing the most movies, even if there's like England, in Germany, big countries, but the French and the things how they do that. For example, wines, you know, everybody knows like now French wine, you know, like but it's you have the same good quality wine in Spain, you know. But the French wine is always, you know, and as well like there's a prosecco, champagne, and cava. You know, there are three things that are pretty similar, of course. But then champagne is no, no,
Yeah.
it's.
I agree with you. It depends how you cultivate, you know, that image. But for sure, France, we known for the wine and the food, especially the cheese, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
What is one thing in Serbia that you say we known for that, you know, that you think the people are very proud of?
I mean, for sure, there's one thing that people knows. It's like this Niol, this Šljivovica, you know,
What is it?
this plum, the strong alcohol is like rakia. I don't know if you've
Oh,
heard about that. Šljivovica.
never tried that. No.
It's
Mm.
plum brandy, and
Okay.
it's in French they call it Niol, you know, or aguardiente in Spanish.
Okay.
And that's the strong that it's like homemade
Okay. Okay.
and I mean Serbian like that's it's from Turkey also, you know, like cevapi, the minced meat, you know, and you get like portion of 5 or 10, you know, about food and drink, you know, and then I think the for Serbia the culture and all is this is like Goran Bregovic with the music, man, the trumpet, you know, the
Yeah.
music is like one of the things that people from there like okay, you know. And then of course, man, in 90s happened all these horrible wars, you know, and then you have that big shadow still, you know, but there's so many good things there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if you still think that because you didn't go over there, because I've been there recently and it's beautiful, beautiful.
No, 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 of course I know people. I heard that like 3 years ago there's a people from London taking charter flights to Belgrade to have fun because Belgrade for the bars and the
Yeah,
clubs.
Belgrade with the bars, and you go on your little boat and you hop bars to bars to bars. You arrive in the back in the club. Nah, super nice. Belgrade, one of the best cities to party. Belgrade.
Yeah, and I
Super
mean,
nice.
the city really in 80s was really funny because it was not part of the Eastern Bloc, you know. People for was could travel to west and to east,
Mhm.
so there was like kind of meeting point of everything, the cultures, and I remember growing up there. As I told you, you know, like in 88 there was the first hip hop band, so
Mhm.
sounds like Beastie Boys. The Beastie
Mhm.
Boys make the album in 87 and we had like in 88 the first hip hop band, you know, so that was like wow, you know. Now without internet, you know, because that's what we're talking the years without internet, you know. So yeah, but you know, after those 90s for me was really like oof, never again, you know, because I was like teenager, as you said, you know, you went to Barcelona in 92. For me that was like I remember that because that was the first year Yugoslavia didn't play together and everybody was talking about that.
Yeah.
What will happen if American Dream Team would meet like
Against
Yugoslav
Yugoslavia.
Dream Team,
Uh,
you know, like with
that would have been a hell of a game. USA against Yugoslavia. Ooh, that would have been nice.
yeah, because they came from Argentina as world champs, you know, with
And you see them, did you ever saw the documentary with Vlade Divac about Drazen Petrovic? Uh,
yeah,
Great
man,
documentary, by the way, for people listening to us. A great documentary on
great
basketball,
documentary and two great
about the
guys.
war, everything. Yeah, it was a great documentary.
Shame because you see how the politics and nationalism can
Yeah.
for me really like I cannot, it's not that I cannot understand, I can understand because I came from there, but really, man, is it important like color, I mean, you know, it's like
Mm.
sometimes it's really
Yeah, it's hard to understand sometimes, for sure, for sure.
really no, I mean some I was born there, so I'm gonna wear that mark for all my life, you know. And now what happened to me, it's amazing because as a Helsinki from Casa de Papel, I have a fans all over ex-Yugoslavia, and that's the most interesting thing. All of them said, "You're ours, you know. You're our actor. We are so proud of our actor, you know." Even Albanians from Kosovo writing, texting me, although
Oh, wow.
you play the Serbian guy, the Serbian military, but I like your character, your respect, and people from Bosnia, from Croatia, from, and it's really like okay, man, it's so it's
That's pretty
amazing.
cool. I'm sure for you, that's got to be pretty cool to see that after everything you went through. That's got to be pretty cool.
No, for me it was like really funny because I get famous first abroad and now only
And
with the fourth season,
not in your country. Yeah.
only
But
with the
it's always like that. It's always like that, Darko. You have to make it like me. I was first famous in the US, and then when I came back, I was famous
that's what I want to ask to you. Yeah, of
in
course, because
Darko.
your starts as well. You played like you came very young to US. No, how old you was when you
I started my professional career. I was 17 when I started in Paris,
in
and I played
Paris?
2 years in Paris, and nobody came to our games. Nobody knew me, and I get drafted to San Antonio. And after 5 games, I became a starter, beat the record of the youngest point guard in the NBA. And then when I came back home, everybody knew me. But I was
Man,
like in Paris 6 months ago, but nobody knew me.
it's funny, man. It's fun. And there's this they saying nobody's prophet in his own land, you know. So
Exactly, exactly. But
yeah, man.
it happened to you and me.
And it's funny, you know. It's really like for me, it's a story because now everybody and my as I told you before, my parents. An actor, and then my daddy told me, you know, I wanted to be actor when I was a kid. I said, okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, right.
Man, Tony, and you played, man, in San Antonio, and the coach, your coach, Greg Popovich, for me is a legendary coach. You know, tell me a little bit about this guy. It's
For me personally, obviously, I think he's the best. He's the best ever, best coach ever in the league, and his mind was just great. The way that he connect with us, you know, on the court and off the court, had a great balance between when to push you and back off, and no, just a great basketball mind. And so me, Timmy, Manu, we were very blessed to have a coach like that that care about his players.
it's amazing, man. All this story about these guys, and I saw he was disappointed this last summer in China with the team, you know, and
You didn't have the best team with him, but
yeah, that's true, that's true. But those kind of guys like Greg Popovich or this guy, I'm reading this book, you know, now like with Phil
oh,
Jackson, 11 Rings.
one of the best. Hmm.
It's that, and last month I had this kind of talk with Jelko Obradovic, you know, also like a
One of the
huge,
best too. Yeah, one of the
one of the
best.
best too. And man, that kind of mindset, and then when you see those people, they're like so open-minded, they can
Mhm.
talk like
I was
with
just gonna say that, Darko. Like you said, you like open-minded people. I was so surprised when I first arrived in San Antonio, how open-minded Pop was about Europe and how much he knew about Europe and how he was interested in everything. And I was amazed because I always thought the US, they like, oh, US is US first, US is the best, you know, and obviously US is a great country. But it's others great countries too, you know, around the world. And Pop was like, man, I was so surprised how much he knew about my country when I first arrived. It was crazy.
yeah, that happened to me. I met like few Americans, and I was like really amazed because that's like here in Europe we have that like about Americans. Yeah, they don't really know around what's going on. No, no, man. But then I met some people, and I was like, okay, respect, man. And
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's for me. It's simple. You have good people all over the world, man. You can find good people all
I
over the
agree.
world.
I agree.
Unfortunately, you can find bad people as well, but you know, you have to be focused on the good and open mind people, that they are the ones that do things, you know. For me, is that a music, is that a sport, is that a I mean, I'm just like reading this Phil Jackson book, and it's just amazing, man. This guy was a hippie, you know. This guy was doing
Yeah,
like
that's what I found out too when I was watching The Last Dance. I didn't know he was like that or like that much, you know, a hippie, like you said.
yeah. And then all these like I don't know. And then you see, like, for example, I remember we was talking about that, about Dennis Rodman, you know, talking now about Let's Dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Hmm.
just like, man,
Dennis, I can only imagine if I told Coach Popovich, I need a vacation. I need to go to Vegas for 3 days. Coach Pop would have killed me. But that's to show you how Phil Jackson, how great he was, and Michael too, you know, to be open like that and like, you know what? I know he's like that. Let's let him take his vacation and he's going to come back and he's going to be even better for us, you know? And so that was a lot of intelligence, you know, from Phil and from Michael.
and for me, I think because it's a team, man, and it's a team is like we have in Casa de Papel, we're a gang, you know, so
Mhm.
we have to work. You cannot like, okay, I go. You know, no, where you go? We are to, so to have that kind of decision, man, you really have to be. And then after you see how it's training, I mean, for me, it's okay. You can look whatever you want. You can do,
Oh yeah, 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 for
but
sure.
you have to show that, you know, that you are worth of what you, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now show, you know.
No, you have to show that you're reliable and you're loyal and that you can we can count on you basically.
Yeah, man, on that level. I mean, I talk with you like a friend, but anyway, man, you was a champion. You was like champion of Europe as well, you know. So that's a big level, man. That's the, as you said, I remember you said to my nephew in Paris, kiddo, this is what it is, you know, there's no more than this, you know. I mean, this is, and the kid, like a 14 years old kid, you know, was like, I imagine like you when you was in Chicago, when you make a photo with Michael Jordan, for him was the same. For him was
Mhm.
the same.
And it
It's,
gave me a huge motivation for sure. So hopefully I helped him and he's gonna go as high as he can. You know.
and okay, like we are talking, I don't know how long we are talking. I think we could talk like for 4 hours,
Oh yeah.
but
I don't know. How long has
I,
it been?
I
I don't know.
don't,
NBA guys out here. Oh yeah, it's been 1 hour already. Yeah, 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay, but
Sorry.
tell me about,
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, Darko.
tell me about your production thing. So,
So
because I saw you produce some
yeah, I
movies and this,
started
so
like no, 4 or 5 years ago. It's called Argent Pictures, and I partner with one of my former teammates, you know, Michael Finley, and then a couple other guys like Drew Brees, who's plays in the NFL, and we decided to join forces, you know, and invest in the same company to try to do great projects, great movies, great documentaries, and we won our first Sundance in 2016, I believe, with the movie called Birth of a Nation with Nate Parker. And our goal is just try to do movies that we care about, and hopefully, you know, we can get our message through our movies.
so you have that passion for the cinema,
Yeah,
for
yeah, I love to read scripts and see, you know, what movie can make a difference and what message you want to say. And obviously, documentaries too is really fun to make. And so it's definitely a passion that I still want to do it and pursue.
yeah, that's really, it's amazing. For example, I know that you know Kobe, you know, and what he done, it was amazing, man. He made like this letter to basketball, you know, that short film.
Unbelievable the way that his mind was working and to do like a movie like that and to be rewarded like that. uh, I was looking forward for the next and for the future because I'm sure that he had a lot of stuff in his mind. He read a lot of stuff, and sadly we're never going to see it, but just in that short time that he had, he showed us all of his talents, you know, for writing and producing.
It's just amazing, man. And sometimes I'm really like, okay, man, these guys that you see them playing with the ball, you know, they're like really, really, really smart guys. I was talking with Gigi Datome. I don't know if you know, this guy is like playing guitar, read the books, he's painting, he's a self, he's, how you said it, like auto, he learned by himself to
Ah, he
paint.
learned by himself every. Oh wow, okay, okay, okay.
So it's just like wow, and I know many others. There's like, but then you see people like Kobe, or you see people like for example, I heard Curry that he also have a production company that is like
What I heard, yeah.
it's just like
I
amazing,
mean,
man. Like
I think more and more athletes, you know, they want to use, you know, the platform, you know, to try to do because we're all interested in different stuff, you know, and when you see LeBron James, the way he's using, you know, his brand and all the stuff he's doing with great documentaries, more than the athlete, you know, the barbershop and all that kind of stuff. And I think there's great content, and I think we should use those platforms as NBA guys. If we have a passion, we should do it.
yeah, of course, man. But in the end, because people see that if you're real or not, you know, if you really
Yeah.
have passion or if you, I was.
People will know right away, Darko, if you're authentic and if you really like it, if you're really passionate. You can't cheat those business.
Yeah, 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 you know that, and people are not stupid. You know, you can pretend for these people, like people when they talk with me, and I said, man, but you're a huge star. I said, come on, man, I'm not the star. You're talking with me, you know. I'm not the like huge star. I don't have that feeling, you know. It's like I try to be to the ground. I keep it
Mhm.
simple. For me, the best thing is keep it simple and do what you like to do, and people will see that. And if it's true, people will love that, you know. It's, and the great things, they start like that. Just like the other I told you about the Get Down, that show. And just the other day I saw the Grandmaster Flash, the DJ, and he was talking like, the guy asked him, how you create something like with a two copy of the same record, like two turntables, you know, without social media, without internet, without labels, without anything. And now it's $1 billion industry, you know. So,
yeah.
like, they was true to themselves, you know, and they was pushing that. Okay, Tony. So it was really nice talking to you, man.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's always good talking to you. And you know you're a friend, and we're going to stay in contact anyway. But it was nice to talk about all those different topics. I hope the audience liked it.
Really, guys, there was no script, you know. This was just like we had some topics and this, and it was like just natural. So I don't know, like we have some little bit about music, about food, about movies, about basketball, and even some Spanish, you know. So
Un poco.
don't forget, whenever you want to talk some more Spanish, just call me and we stay in touch.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Bye-bye.
Hasta luego, amigo. Bye bye.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.